way we consume and share news today, it is largely rooted in social media outlets, a reason why we decided it's important to look at what's being discussed online. From the hottest issues to trends for our daily social media minute, we're joined by Erica. Good morning.
Good morning.
Looking so summery.
Yeah,
It's kind of
it's
hot.
definitely getting warmer.
It's going to be 32, 33 degrees today.
Yeah.
Brace yourselves. And apparently the UV index is very high, meaning we should probably double down on sunblock wearing and not
Yes.
stroll too much.
Yep.
All right, let's jump into our first buzzword this morning. Britain is honoring the longest serving monarch, Queen Elizabeth II.
Yeah. No other British monarch has ruled for as long as she has. The Queen of England's Platinum Jubilee weekend kicked off yesterday, and the extended weekend is seeing communities and people throughout the UK coming together to celebrate this historic milestone.
Jubilee celebration. I mean, I don't know all of the names, so let's clarify how many years that actually implies. 70 years since
Yep.
Queen Elizabeth II became a monarch at the age of 25. Times have changed. That might be an understatement, but one thing that remains constant is the loyalty of the British people to the monarchy. It is such an integral part of the country's national character, and from afar where we don't have monarchy in the country anymore, it's hard to decipher. But I remember reading a study saying that monarchs and these royal families represent something bigger. We have politicians that come and go. I mean, the pendulum right here at home for us just went from left to right rather abruptly. Well, while through all these tumultuous times and changes, a monarch can be more of a symbol of stability and I suppose more these far-fetching long-haul goals, if you will.
Yeah, times have changed, but when it comes to the British monarchy, it looks like people are happy to accept their eccentricity and quirkiness. It's their tradition. It's a part of who they are.
Yeah.
And according to a survey, less than 20% of the Brits say they want to get rid of the royal family. And this is a proportion that has barely changed across the decades. So I'm thinking maybe when it comes to certain things, we shouldn't expect the answer to be based on reason.
No, sometimes it's emotionally charged.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's because it's a symbol of something we want to believe in. It could be a number of different things. I think this is why politicians sometimes have a difficult time trying to gauge what is the public sentiment after all. Surveys is a good place to start.
Yep.
Now, the 4-day long festivities kicked off with the Queen's birthday parade just yesterday.
That's right. There was a royal procession involving more than 1,200 officers and soldiers who put on a military pageant together with hundreds of musicians and 240 horses. Quite a sight to see. There was a royal gun salute that was fired during the festivities. And following the royal procession, the royal family, as is tradition, stepped out onto the balcony of the palace, the Buckingham Palace, to greet the crowds. There was a very impressive fly past that coincided with the royal family's balcony appearance. Several members of the royal family were notably missing from the balcony yesterday, including Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. They were present during the parade, but they weren't at the balcony. And of course, Prince Andrew, who was embroiled in the recent scandal. Queen Elizabeth apparently made a decision earlier this year that only working members of the royal family or the firm will make a balcony appearance this year.
What other events are people looking forward to throughout the celebratory weekend? It's a 4-day long festivity.
Yeah, there's a lighting of the beacons, which is a big tradition. Later today, there's going to be a service of Thanksgiving held at St. Paul's Cathedral with members of the royal family in attendance. The Queen, however, according to the latest news this morning from the BBC, will be absent from the service. Tomorrow, more festivities to follow. There's going to be a derby at Epsom Downs, followed by a platinum party at the palace. And on Sunday, there's going to be the big Jubilee lunch. Apparently, over 60,000 people have registered to host big Jubilee luncheons over the weekend. Plenty of events are going to take place, including a world record attempts for the longest street party. Over 10 million people across the UK are expected to join in the celebrations. Across the world, 600 international big Jubilee lunches have been planned throughout the Commonwealth and beyond. And this long weekend is going to culminate in the Platinum Jubilee pageant on Sunday. And the ceremonial centerpiece of the climax of the weekend is going to be the Gold State Coach. It's a carriage drawn by 8 Windsor horses. I mean, this is a golden carriage, literally. And it's 250 years old. It weighs in at 4 tons. It's really ornately carved. It's luxurious. It's gilded. It's a reminder of Britain's one-time dominance of oceans and continents across the world.
It's a big golden symbol of prowess. I can't remember the last time I brushed up on any of this information, but I'm impressed for a number of different reasons. That's a really heavy thing.
Yeah. You know, the Queen herself, she rode it to her coronation and during her silver and golden Jubilee processions. But sadly, this year, the carriage is going to be empty. And as with so much of the celebrations this year, the Queen will largely be unseen because of health reasons.
That's a little bit sad, but at least we get to see the very golden, the very heavy carriage.
That's right.
Now, according to the BBC, there's an unspoken transition that is taking place within the royal family. It seems like an era might be coming to an end much more sooner than people were expecting, perhaps.
That's right. You know, things are going to be very different this year, and people have already been noticing. Palace is saying that the Queen hopes to attend the various ceremonies and celebrations being held in her honor, but, you know, she's barely been seen in public for the last 6 months due to mobility problems. And in her place, 3 of the great ceremonies of monarchy have been led by Charles, the Prince of Wales. And this is the unspoken transition you spoke of earlier. A June 2nd article by the BBC reads, quote, "In the most British way possible, undeclared, unwritten, and unspoken of, transition has begun. If the 2012 Diamond Jubilee was a reaffirmation of the Queen's place in the nation's affections, this Platinum Jubilee will be different because this is a farewell."
Oh man, I guess that's the perfect summary, right? The most British way possible, undeclared, unwritten, and unspoken, but it is happening as we speak. All right, before we move on to the next story, of course, Blackpink was spotted at the British Embassy in Seoul. This all ties into the celebrations, doesn't it?
That's right. The group spoke about climate change in a video with the British ambassador to Seoul. The video was shared on the group's YouTube channel just yesterday. And in the video, Blackpink talks about the aftermath of climate change. They're advocates for the UN's 26th Climate Change Conference, or COP26. And the video was filmed at the British Embassy in Seoul last Thursday.
All right. I'm sure you've seen it by now. Let's move on to our second buzzword this morning. Clearly, there are a lot of events. You know, honestly, when you said over 10 million people across the UK are expected to join in on celebrations, a part of me kind of flinched a little bit. An introvert in me died a little bit. But also the fact that we're still in the midst of the pandemic, it makes me a little bit anxious when I hear these large numbers of people gathering, just a little bit. But nonetheless, being outdoors is the safe advice, is it not? I mean, we have to enjoy something. Events are returning after a long hiatus. It seems that Seoul City wants us to read a little bit more.
Yeah, and outdoors as well, and talk to celebrated writers. So what's going to happen is the Seoul City government is going to host a month of book talks in June and connect some of the country's most celebrated novelists with readers and their fans. And this month-long program is called Stroll Through Literature on the Grass. And it's going to bring together several popular novelists, writers, and citizens every Friday and Saturday for a book talk on the grassy plaza in front of City Hall.
I mean, that sounds most pleasant, honestly. I mean, it's such a spacious, big ground. Why wouldn't they host these kinds of events?
Exactly. Now, the first week is going to feature Chun Sol-lan, who is the author of Science Fiction 9, best-selling author Chung Yu-jung, whose works include Shoot Me in the Heart, or 내 심정을 살아, and 7 Years of Heart, 7년의 밤. They're also going to be present. Park Sang-young, whose novel Love in the Big City was longlisted for the 2022 International Booker Prize. This novelist was also joined in the second week of the book talks. Other novelists who have been invited include Son Won-pyong and Shin Yong-han. So there's a lot to look forward to. Reservations, if you're interested, can be made online at the website of the Seoul Metropolitan Library.
Something to look forward to. Now, on to our last buzzword this morning. I think this is really exciting. For one, I was impressed that a single cooking show in Spain gets this much viewership, 15%. In this day and age, I mean, streaming cable, anyone? Is cable out too? My point being, it's wildly popular in Spain, and I asked my cousins who live there, and everyone watches this. It's almost as if you don't watch it, you you go back to work and you're out of water cooler topics.
And this TV show that we're talking about today, is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year. So not only is it popular, it's a long-running TV show that Spanish people love, and it's MasterChef Spain. And featuring on the show, most recently on May 30th, was kimchi. Yep.
That's interesting.
So participants took part in a challenge that involved creating an inventive dish using this Korean icon.
Staple dish icon, about the same. Right. So who cooked what exactly?
During the episode, Jordi Cruz is a Michelin star chef, and he's a judge on the show, explained to the contestants about kimchi, how it's a fermented dish from Korea, and it's highly nutritious, and how it's becoming more and more popular among chefs in restaurants all around the world. And the 9 participants were given the task of creating their own unique dish using this mystery ingredient. And the participants looked bewildered. I have to say, some of them looked a little bit shocked. Some others looked a little bit more comfortable and confident because they'd clearly cooked with kimchi before. And they employed all manner of cooking techniques, from basic stir frying, sous videing, to molecular cooking. Very interesting. And this episode was created in cooperation with the Korean Cultural Center in Spain.
Okay, so some were frightened by something that they hadn't used before. Some clearly had, used it before and was confident. So I do wonder which dish ended up winning the mystery ingredient challenge.
The mystery ingredient challenge, the winner was something called kimchi roll. So it's a dish that combined kimchi with pastry dough. And I thought, wow, that's super smart. It's some sort of fat, butter in this case, I guess. Carbs and kimchi go so well together. I thought it's very smart.
It sounds delicious. And can I have that for breakfast? I mean, it sounds like it checks off everything in my food group.
I know, right? And other competing dishes included names like Fiesta del Kimchi, Festival, and Flor de Kimchi, which means kimchi flower.
Suddenly it's like I can understand Spanish. That was easy. Thank you very much, Erica, for getting us all working up an appetite first thing in the morning. That is your forte after all. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
If you're listening to our program using the podcast service, just a reminder that we do go live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time. So tune in and help us make the show more informative by giving us your input. See you bright and early on Good Morning Seoul.